I've unmuted things correctly so we can move over into a transition. True believers, guess what? It's your Thursday night talking head show where we, talk about Marvel Crisis Protocol. Maybe you've heard of it. It's like MCP, but better because it's us. Anyway, we're here for Wait. Did I Roll a Wild? Your Marvel Crisis Protocol vlog. I am joined by a very special guest this week. He is the Doctor, the Dylan, the D. All of those things combined makes one man, and that man is Dylan. Dylan, hi, how are you?
Oh, hey, Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So Dylan and I, and then Dan and Danny and Lindsay and Elizabeth and Taylor and Alyssa and Ben and Brian and Omnis and Lexa and Danny and Rick and the Montreal Shark Tank and the Danger Room and Strike Better and all everyone's back from LVO.
Taco truck.
Yeah, Alfredo Size 3 Taco Truck and Vince and Nate and Mike. What's that?
Probably Omnis in the Danger Room.
Yeah, just everyone. We're all back. We're all back from LVO. Some of us made it significantly quicker than others. I got to hang out for I'll get into that, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Emma Frost card, which was revealed yesterday, I believe, right? Maybe Tuesday.
Yep.
And what a card it is. It's so much card. There's 4 of them. You know what I mean? We got injured sides, we got non-injured sides. It's just kind of it's going to be a good day kind of all around. We're going to talk about some games played, maybe some hobby thoughts. We're going to see how Dylan did on his side of stuff at LVO, and yeah, just a lot. So first thing that we always like to discuss just a little bit are games played and hobby thoughts. Dylan, in the past week. Did you get to hobby at all? What did you hobby in the last specifically 7 days?
So specifically 7. What is today? Today's Thursday. I was probably finishing all the things I had to paint to go to LVO, which included 3 things.
Okay.
4 things. I had to paint Hawkeye, so I finished my Hawkeye. Boom. You might have seen him at LVO. He's actually one of my best paint jobs. I think he came out really good. Anyway, then I had to finish an Iceman chibi, which was very easy because of the fact that it came in this transparent plastic. So the only thing I had to actually paint was the base, and then I fancied it up with some frost effect type stuff.
Well, that's
and
nice.
Then it was easy. Yeah, actually, I might do a tutorial about that kind of stuff later. I don't know if I did get a haircut. Yeah, I feel way better. I look way less homeless.
I was gonna say that. So when you first popped on. And your camera was functioning, I was like, wow, that guy looks like he probably has a house or a home. Or maybe a house that he's turning into a home.
You could say that because I moved into my new house today.
Yay!
So when you background, it's gonna look completely different. It's not a hobby cave yet. Right now, it's just a room filled with boxes.
Now, I mean, boxes are nothing if not opportunity yet to be opened.
It's true. And saran wrapped trays full of bits and models for games I don't really play much anymore. But anyway, so then I painted a Cyclops for you.
You did. It's regularly right here. Available. I love it a lot. Look at that bad boy.
I even had to make out of some heavy gel the droopy beam. He doesn't beam like he used to.
The old droop beam. Yeah. Every time I see it, I want to eat it because it looks like the corner of a fruit roll up. Very specifically the strawberry one. So, 100%.
It's super easy to make. So if you ever need another Cyclops, since they're too good in the in MCP, if you ever need to have another Cyclops, I can teach you how to make one.
I really like that. I appreciate that quite a bit, actually. Everyone says that, everyone uses Cyclops all the time. There was a player at LVO who was, in fact, running Cyclops, which I really appreciate. I don't think they made it very far, but... Listen.
It was unironically.
Yeah.
It has to be ironically.
So speaking of this Vegas of opens, or maybe a Las Vegas Open, I suppose would be the word correct.
One last thing. I did also paint Rhino for Fury's Finest, Jesse, at the same time as I was painting the one that's in the tutorial. So the model's almost done. I just have to have a functioning hobby room so I can do
Right.
the last 2 things I need to do before it's tutorial worthy. Thanks, Alyssa. I get complimented all the time. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
No, it was a very fantastic rhino, by the way.
Thank you.
So I mean, shout out to Jesse for being able to use that rhino. Did he run it that weekend?
He did. I think he ran it in 3 or 4 of his games. He says that every time he used them, he was pretty helpful.
We did get to see a lot of rhino usage. I mean, especially even on the stream games, and just from our first initial impression of Rhino to how he's kind of actually hit and charged into the scene, pretty impactful fella.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody can argue that he's not amazingly good.
yeah, he's definitely a mid 4. I agree. Um, but
For sure.
so as far as LVO stuff goes, you got to play in one of the side events, right? Or did you play in a couple of the side events?
So I did a scramble on Saturday, and the scramble was just a couple people that like got together and just started playing, and it was
Yeah.
like a at Havoc type tournament. I got to play. The rematch with Rob happened. No Magneto and no She-Hulk this time, so we didn't get to have the bullet sponge happen. No, I'm sorry. Alyssa's right. I did the Scrabble.
I did see the sign for the Scrabble.
So it was spelled on the wall. And then on Sunday I did the team event, and I
Yeah.
was with Canadian Shark Tank Gabe, and I was also with Rob. So we were very big frenemies the entire day, or the entire con.
So, so tell me about kind of how that 3-man team thing worked. So, Lexa was running all of the side events throughout the weekend, gymnastics, and then there was a 15-man roster event as well, and then the 3x3 team tournament. So, how was that kind of formatted? Because I know it was a pretty solid turnout for that, right? 16 teams, 3 people each team, so like 48 people total, which is awesome.
It's crazy. I mean, especially since the Invitational was right there too, and that had how many people in the Invitational? Like 100.
64.
Okay, so yeah, 100. And so you so the format itself is you get 2 buddies, or you find a random another person, like one of the people. We shout out to him. His historian, good guy. I have to actually talk to him on Discord. It was the first time I'd ever met him, so that was a really cool bump into.
Yeah.
And then so what happens? You make a team of 3. You write down your name and your affiliation on like a piece of paper or whatever. You don't even have to write down the roster. What happens is the team leader, whoever rolls, if you get priority. Now, it like every single game we played, it kind of like changed. So you probably want to check the rules on this. But what happened is you roll for the initiative. Whoever wins the roll, I think the other person puts down their first person face up on whatever one of the boards. It might be the other way around. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to check. But
Okay.
he does that. Then the other team puts down the person that they want to play against, someone that they can see, and then they put a blind one, and then they put down another face-up one, so that the other team essentially gets to pick a matchup. So the advantage of rolling the initiative is that you get to pick the first matchup. One of them is blind, and then the third one is the other team will get to pick that matchup out of the 2 that they didn't pick already.
Okay, so effectively you were running 3 separate games, but the kind of a drafting system and some blind picks to who you're going to be matched up against in those 3 separate games, and then you win if you go 2-1, I assume.
Yeah, whoever wins or
3-0.
first.
Yeah.
Yep. So and then the other limitation, which I think even adds another layer of complexity to it, is that none of the characters can be shared between the 3 rosters of your team.
Oh.
So there can only be one Thanos. There can only be one Malekith. Any character like those major characters. So it forces you to essentially play at least 2 affiliations, because some affiliations can play around with that a little bit. But I would venture to say it's probably going to be 3 affiliations versus another 3 affiliations. Clever way to balance that.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah. So it's not, a Malekith on on all 3 tables lengthwise. Only one possible Malekith per team, at least.
I was so tired of playing Malekith by the end of LVO. I think he was in 4 of my 6 games. I was like, come on, guys. Jeez.
But yeah, so just a really quick shout out to all of the people that put LVO together, including Tyson and Omnis of Omnis Protocol, Lexa, Rick, and Danny. All did an incredible job running the events, making sure that people had what they needed. Oh, and Brian Watson. Geez, how could I forget him? Speaking of, I spent a lot of extra time that I wasn't planning on with Brian Watson. That's a story I'll get into in just a second. But yeah, huge thank you to all the people that kind of had that ship running, because you did an insanely good job, and Frontline Gaming just kind of as a whole as well. But so, how was your travel back from LVO? How did that work out for you?
So I picked my moment to leave very well. As soon as Omnis started announcing awards, I was like, I'm sure as heck not going to get any kind of awards, so I'm going to get out of here. So we had a flight originally, so I was not going to be able to finish the team event. It got delayed and changed. I think in the course of like 30 minutes, we were on 3 different itineraries. So we left,
Wow.
got food. That must have happened probably around like 6 or 7. So we go to the airport, hang out there. I brought Marvel United with me, funnily enough, because I thought we might be able to play it at the hotel. So we just played it in the in the cafe area.
Oh, that's
In the
awesome. So our flight got delayed too. We were supposed to fly out at like 4, checked in at 1. We were there a little earlier. We're gonna, do some gift shopping and grab a bite to eat or whatever before we flew out. 10 minutes after we checked into or like got through security, we get a notice saying that our flight's been delayed by about like 3.5 hours. So we're gonna be hanging out in the airport for a hot minute. But thankfully, as we were headed down from the casino to get an Uber to the airport, we run into Brian Watson, who has his luggage on him. He's like, yeah, they kicked me out of the hotel room because that's checkout, and I kind of have nothing to do for the next 12 hours. And I was like, oh, sweet. Well, you want to go to the airport with us? We're going to hang out for a little while. So we go over and we realize we have different, airlines. So they're different terminals. So I kind of just dragged him over to the airport hours early for no reason, and we weren't going to be able to hang out, and I felt really bad about it. So he ended up getting to his terminal. We get through security, and lo and behold, we're flying out of the same gate letter. So actually get to the place where we're going to be hanging out for a while, and I go to text him. I'm like, hey, what gate are you actually going to be flying out of? And as I'm sending that, we're passing an anti-M or anti-M's, anti-An's pretzels, whatever it is. We're passing that, and Brian's right there, just hanging out in line. So we're like, oh, okay, guess we can hang out. So yeah, then our flights got delayed, so we talked about all sorts of gaming stuff, and yeah, it was a good day. Outside of, we didn't actually land until about 3 in the morning, and then it was a 3.5 hour drive back to New York. So it was we were very, very tired. My wife and I cranking the AC, juggling, just chugging caffeine to stay awake on those back roads, and then we hit weather, and it's just like, oh man, this is gonna suck. Just cranking the music, screaming along to it, just so we're staying active. But
Yep.
but yeah, no, it was a good time.
I was similar when we because I don't sleep on flights. It's something I can't do. I got to read books, and we land, and I got back just in time to enjoy the sweet Boston commute traffic all the way home.
Oh, nice.
I'm falling asleep while I'm driving, so I'm like resting my chin on the steering wheel. Hopefully, get myself like a rug burn on the bottom of my jaw, so I don't be stay awake.
Well, and you're so much closer to your work now. I mean, that was kind of one of your last great experiences to have with that Boston commute, right? So
I know I'm gonna miss it.
It was the swan song.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
But let's get right into it, because I'm sure you're super stoked to talk about this particular character and card reveal.
Yes.
So let's get this right up on screen here. So we have regular Emma, or normal Emma, milk chocolate Emma, not playing
Vanilla
anymore.
Ice.
Not playing
It's
anymore.
Vanilla Ice.
Yeah. Emma Frost. So just to blow through some of these stats really quick. So Emma Frost normal mode, 235 for defenses. I think that's probably pretty much right what we would have expected. 6 stamina on both healthy and injured sides. 4 threat, which I wasn't expecting, but was certainly within the wheelhouse of expectations. Size 2 and a medium mover. So just from stats, stamina, and threat alone, what are your thoughts so far? Because I I think it's pretty solid.
I think it's great. The 4 threat thing also threw me because I know that Emma in the comics is usually compared to Jean quite a bit, and
Yeah.
Jean's a 5. Nobody likes Jean. Well, she's not. She's difficult. She's unwieldy to use in the game.
Hmm.
Like she can't really say she's bad because she does one thing particularly really well. Unfortunately, now that Emma exists, you will probably never see Jean again unless somebody's desperate to play the Jean card just so they can scream it in the middle.
I mean, I think it's built into the threat of the character how much people want to scream Gene with that Tactics card. 100%.
100%. But yeah, it's so far. I as soon as I see 5 Mystic, I'm like, boom, this is a convocation member just waiting to be used
Right.
for Iron books.
Now, does
So
Ironbound books affect everyone on the team? Or they don't
yeah,
have
it
to
is
be
not
actual
convocation
convocation?
specific. Nope,
Awesome.
it is not. So you
Heck
will
yeah.
find Emma, and you'll find Emma in my convocation for sure.
Well, and I know earlier during the WoW stream, we had a bunch of talk about Emma and where she fit in, and I know Alyssa's very excited to run her in Inhumans, and I think Emma's going to be a very splashable character because there's kind of a lot going on, and she's incredibly versatile as well. Um,
And the funny thing is that she does the thing that you would take Gemma or Gemma.
Gemma.
Gene, you would take Gene for. Gene's thing was going against Thanos or any kind of push heavy team. So might because one of the more recent meta teams is Guardians with Thanos, just because of the pull with the gun
Yeah.
with the shooting. It might put a real big hamper on that because I agree she's so easily splashable. I think you're right on the money. We should get into why that's the case. Would you like to begin?
I would.
Have at it.
So, starting off with her builder, her first attack, it's mystical. It's called Psychic Spike. Standard builder. After this attack is resolved, the character gains power equal to the damage dealt. It's range 4, strength 5. So already really solid. Just a great builder. With Bend Will on a wild and I believe a hit. So after this attack is resolved, this character may advance the target character short. So should be pretty reasonable. I mean, it's not going to happen every time, but it's what, like a 25-30% chance that this should be happening. I also did no math for that whatsoever, and I'm just saying numbers. But I think about a third of the time it should work every time. And I mean, who doesn't like a place? Who doesn't like an advance? Like getting people
Yeah.
out of position or into a more beady up position or away. It's protective, it's offensive, it's defensive, it's utilitarian. It's literally everything. I love it. Quite a bit.
The fact that you have the place on a builder. So like the only other models I can think of that have something kind of similar to this right off the top of my head is Black Panther, considered one of the best 4s in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that one's only range 2, but that one automatically happens. And then you have Doctor Strange, very similar, has to do damage. Also very, very good. Nobody says that either one of the Strangers are bad, right?
Right.
So now you have a 4 threat with this is, they're building power off of this, and then like I don't know. I feel like the chances of getting a wild and a hit are probably pretty good. For the most part, I would venture to say that you're probably going to get the hit. You're probably going to roll at least one since it has 2 results on the dice.
Yep.
It's almost like you were rolling for a wild anyway, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. It's you're fishing for a wild with sometimes an escape clause when you don't roll that hit either, which
Correct.
doesn't seem like that should be happening pretty regularly. But then again, at LVO, we watched a whole bunch of Buckies missing out on rapid fire pretty consistantly. So it's certainly not guaranteed.
Get that auto rapid fire,
right? That hip fire, but
I absolutely love it. I think the fact that it's a range 4, strength 5, you could stop right here and with her defense stats, and I already would be like, okay, she's got game.
Yeah,
you don't need to read the rest of the card, and you definitely could justify bringing her. But thankfully there is card, so keep going.
No, yeah. So and then her spender is called Hands Off, range 3, strength 8 for 4 power, and on a wild she gets Defenstrate. Defenstrate.
Bless you.
Defenstrate. Defenstrate. I think it's Defenstrate.
I think it's Defenstrate. I think it's Defenstrate.
Before damage is dealt, this is actually super awesome. You love seeing this type of thing with it being before damage is dealt. If the target character is size 4 or less, this character may throw the target character away short. Before damage is dealt, you are hucking and chucking that Juggernaut, that Rhino, that Malekith. I adore it.
Not jugs.
At a
Can't do jugs
at a pretty decent range though. It can do jugs. Jugs
because he
5.
has the helmet. You
Oh,
can't do it
gotcha.
with helmet because it's a mystic attack.
Yeah, but still, I mean, awesome. Once again, a ton of displacement, battlefield control, and potentially just heavy damage. Heavy damage, and the
Absolutely.
fact that it's on a wild before damage is dealt is just stellar.
Yeah, it's chef kiss, isn't it?
It
Like
really
the
is.
you got to compare her to Jean because this is like they clearly made her with Jean in mind.
Mhm.
Fender is very similar, but I don't have the card available to me. But Jean's is much more expensive.
Yes, and it's also physical.
It is also physical, and I think the throw is automatic. But again, on 8 dice, you would hope you would roll a single wild. But
Let's see, actually. So yeah, so on Jeans, yeah, telekinetic force. Yeah, it's more expensive for only one more die too.
I think it's is it 6?
It's 6 power, 9 strength, range 3, telekinetic force. The throw is exactly the same. It is automatic and it also has explosive. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, this is not only like 30% cheaper. It's also mystic, which is awesome.
But it runs at lean and mean, right? It's like you don't get all the flash. Like, did you really need explosive on a spender? It's like with Jean, you're not spending. Honestly, even with her, you're probably not going to spend for this a whole lot unless you really got to move somebody.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still good to have. I'd rather have a cheaper spender that did less and was more lean and mean, which I think this is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely not going to complain about it.
All right, and then moving into her first reactive, and this is kind of where things are really going to pop off for Emma, is Diamond Form. So this
Mm-hmm.
is 1 power. When this character is targeted by an attack, it may use the superpower. This character transforms into Emma Frost Diamond.
She shines bright like a diamond.
She does. So I'm going to pull up the Diamond form here. There we be.
Now, one other thing that's good to note on this is transforms do give you a movement. So you could even think of this as like a oopsie might be out of range of an objective thing because you get to displace yourself range 1
Right,
when you
yeah.
do.
You get a Midnight Suns bump every time you go Diamond.
Correct.
All right, so on her diamond side for the healthy portion, now granted that we're going to be going back and forth kind of between these two cards because there's kind of a lot going on here, but in a really really great way. So
And
Emma,
the good news is that injured and healthy are the same for both forms, so that kind of makes it a little easier to
yes.
comprehend.
So 4s across the board for defenses. Once again, stellar, really sweet. 6 stamina on both sides as well. So not playing any games there with changing health totals or pools. Same for threat and size 2 and medium mover. But kind of a completely new setup of abilities. So out of the gate, she's immune to bleed, incinerate, poison, and stun, which is awesome. Super choice. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't light diamonds on fire. At least not with that
Sure
attitude.
can.
But
Again, she's a 5 threat because of the poison.
correct. Yep, 100%. And the cool thing is too is, and this is my assumption, is that if you switch forms, if you have those special conditions on you, they will be removed.
Yeah, it specifically states that you will lose the status, so you're right on the money.
Okay, stellar. So for her builder, we got some physical attacks. We have a range 2 and then an A2. So the first one is Diamond Strike, range 2, strength 5 builder that is physical. After this attack is resolved, this character gains power equal to the damage dealt and has Pierce on a crit and and Stun on a wild.
So good.
So what do you think about the Pierce on a crit? Just like
It's weird, right? I think it's the only person that's done that so far. But
yeah.
again, most of the time the crit's on the wild, but it's like, I mean, I think there you have an equal chance to get either one. I prefer a crit anyway, so I'm like,
Yeah, if there's only I completely agree. If there's only one on the die anyway, you have the same odds of rolling either one. But I mean, the crit might crit more. You never know.
right, exactly. And
Um,
plus, I guess what they didn't want to do was the Wolverine thing, where if you roll one wild, you get like bleed and pierce.
yeah,
Kind of
yeah.
move away from that a little bit.
Well, and I think most of the Wolverines have that, right? Because Sabretooth and X-23 as
X23.
well? Yeah.
X23 has. I don't think Gabby has Pierce. I think she only has Bleed.
I think so as well. Oh, she's only got one claw. You know what I mean? Like you gotta. It's difficult to pierce with just one claw. You're more.
Yeah, you
You're
got to go
more
straight for the
prying it
artery.
open. Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's how she opens like tin cans.
Correct. I always found it super weird, like in X-Men cartoons and stuff. Like Wolverine would always open up a can with his claw, which just seems super, super, super unnecessary. Like it's probably
dangerous.
it's more. It's got to be more difficult to do it with that than just opening it with your finger.
You would think.
Like you're just ripping the tab off. You're not even opening the soda. You're just gonna cut your lip. That's all you've invited.
Well, he doesn't really care. I mean, he just heals it anyway.
It still hurts though. And
It's true.
you know what? Canonically, I'm gonna make this statement. This probably isn't true, but Wolverine's lips actually don't heal as fast as everything else. So he does have to stick around with a little canker sore, a little bit.
That sounds terrible.
Speaking of Wolverine, actually, very quickly, something very, very, very incredible happened. Like insanely incredible. Something arrived to the PO box while we were at LVO.
Oh,
And we officially have our first Weapon X motorcycle that has been sent to the network PO box. PO Box G, West Oneonta, New York 13861. It's happened. It's finally happened. I'm super excited for it. I forgot to bring in the card that was in there. I'm just going to shout really loud and maybe it will appear here. But if somebody wanted to grab me that thing that the motorcycle came in, that would be super cool. Sometimes you just gotta manifest it. You know what I mean? You put the information out there, and sometimes it'll happen. But so I want to thank the person that sent that, but I want to get their name first. But thank you so much. I was so excited when I saw that. It looked like it came from Japan or something too. Like it had a bunch of this came from somewhere not close. And I was like, ooh, what is this? And it was really light, and I heard it rattling inside, and I opened it, and I was like, oh, it's a motor.
I'm not gonna start throwing out names. I might know who sent it. I don't know. I'm curious.
But yeah, we'll see here shortly. But yeah, once again, thank you to that person. We will credit you here shortly. But that finally came, so I was super stoked. Anyway, Emma's spender on this side is Shatter. Also, Pierce on a crit here. This is an A2 Strength 7 for 6 power. After all attacks are resolved, this character may, not forced to, but may transform into Emma Frost normal. So I think that we've seen in general, right, that spenders like this, the A2, usually aren't super well liked or used. Magneto's doesn't really get used all that much, and that was, I guess, while everyone at our network was playing him so wrong because we were always trying to do that.
Sure.
Ascani's son as well, and Thor's God of Thunder, a little underutilized, I think. But with Pierce on it, I actually like that a lot. I'm really hoping we get to see some cool plays, and especially when you have a character that is going to be transforming back and forth and being able to kind of get that Midnight Suns bump here and there to get into position to have something like this set up. I think we might see Shatter a lot more often than maybe initially anticipated, especially with that Pierce on there, which is just awesome. Odds are you're probably going to be rolling one, or you should be. So what's better than, a bunch of damage going out all at once? A bunch of damage that is absolutely going to be going through as well.
Absolutely. I think the price is, I don't know, the price just seems really high.
It does seem a little high.
I think that, so I don't know what, so this is my gut instinct, right? I think, and there's a power later that's going to kind of come up with this too. I think that they're going to release a card with her would make something like this really, really good.
Yeah.
Because the as Diamond Mine later on. I'm thinking that there's probably a card that she can play probably only when she's in vanilla ice mode or almond milk mode.
Unsweetened almond milk mode.
Yeah, organic. It's got to be organic. You remember she's rich
That's
Massachusetts lady.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there's probably going to be a card that is going to interact with this in some way that it's like you can only play it when she's Vanilla Ice. That is going to make her attacks better. I'm kind of coming out on a limb on that one. I
Yeah.
have just this suspicion that that's such like a weird thing to target because I don't think there's been any other character that's done that. So I'm curious, but we'll see.
Yeah, I guess I would expect, and there's going to be what 6 tactics cards in that box as well with her and Psylocke. So I think the odds
Yeah.
of there being a tactics card that can forcefully, like off activation, turn her into diamond form or something, I would
Yeah,
almost guarantee it.
I think
Okay.
that's probably going to be the case.
All right, so this package was sent to Mr. Tim at Professional Casual Network. Yes, at the PO box, and it is from Mario. Mario
Yeah,
Friel.
this is Mario. That son of a gun. I love
So,
him.
and but yeah, Mario, thank you so much. That was so thoughtful. I really appreciate that, and we are gonna do incredible things with it. And by we, I mean I'm gonna make Taylor do incredible things with it. So,
Shout out to Mario. Me and him are always chatting back and forth. He is one of my favorites. He is. I kid you not. He is a Italian man living in Japan. I forget what. There's something else that was really Mario related. I
yeah,
don't think he's a. I think he's like an engineer. Yeah, amazing guys. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your entire life.
hell yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mario. I really appreciate that, and that was a very, very, very nice thing to come home to after a really miserable day traveling. So,
As soon as you said Japan, I was like, I bet I know who that is.
but so moving on to Diamond Form Frost's first active, some might say her only active. Sometimes one must get their hands dirty. Now, I was actually surprised to see this one on here.
I
This
was too.
for 3 power, choose an interactive terrain feature of size 3 or less within range 2 and throw it medium. The superpower can only be used once per turn. Now, can I like I is this something that did she have super strength or some limited enhanced strength when she was in her diamond form? Like,
I guess so. The image in my brain that comes to me when she's in diamond form is she's like holding up a building or something like that. I thought she
okay,
was resilient. I didn't know it like applied to like picking things up. I don't know. Even so, I saw some discussion online because when we go back to almond milk form, she's gonna have telekinetic powers. She's always had telekinetic powers, but from what I understand, they were more on the latent side. But so it's kind of interesting that she got that as a power when they could have just pressed into the, shooting brainwaves thing a little bit more. So maybe it's one of those like things that's like maybe been hinted at in a book or two, but it never really has come out as like a big established thing. You know how
I
comic
gotcha.
book works.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
who knows? It's hard to say. Either way, glad it's here. A
yeah.
3 power medium throw. Yes, that's so good.
Yeah, for real, and just adds so much more to her, just her kit as a whole, right? Because normal form, she's got all sorts of disruption for people, and now to have a terrain throw as well on the diamond side is choice. Then she is overladen with a whole bunch of innates, including Diamond Mind. This character cannot play team tactics cards. I think that's a really neat addition to kind of bring her back down into the realm of reality a little bit. Otherwise, she would absolutely be a mid 5. Then we
So that's
have
one of the things. It seems like they're giving characters flaws now.
yes,
Interesting. I'm
which
totally in.
yeah, I really like that. Personally, and that's like even in tabletop RPGs and stuff like that, I always really like a really flawed character that has clear weaknesses and yeah, I don't know, it's cool. I like it narratively as well. Far from my best look. If this character begins its activation as Emma Frost Diamond, at the end of the activation, it transforms into normal Emma. So once again, kind of bringing that down a little bit. You can't just go up and then brain blast a whole bunch of people and then become immune to the enemy for a hot minute. So you'll never be in diamond form for more than 2 rounds.
Yes.
Um, and I
Again,
think,
unless there's a card, which
and
I suspect again might come up.
I do think as well, even if you drop form and then somehow reapply it because you started the activation as diamond form. So like say it's round 3, you start at diamond form, you shatter, you go back to normal, you get attacked, you go back into diamond form. I think from the way I'm reading that, it still stays. You started the activation as diamond form, so regardless, you are transforming back to normal form at the end of the turn.
So it's important to note, again, we didn't get that far, but she is immune to reactives on her other side. So she probably that probably will not come up. I think the only thing I can even think of that might cause it is face me,
Yeah.
maybe. But I think you're right in that case. I think she would still go back just because of the wording on that. But we'll see. I'm sure. I'm sure someone way smarter than us is going to figure out some combo for that.
Yeah, Neo Goldar or Thoris will I'm sure on the forums give us a clear, takeaway on that too.
But I
Then
think you're right.
then we have Psychic Immunity. This character cannot be pushed or advanced as a result of enemy mystic attacks or superpowers. Additionally, when defending against mystic attacks, this character counts blanks in the defense roll as successes. Pretty rad. Now, how
Again,
does
convocation. Mm.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, I was going to ask you how this kind of might play into Ironbound Books of Shumago Wrath. Is there a just because I'm not super familiar with it, I haven't played as Wizards as much as I kind of want to. Is she going to get blanks on Ironbound Books attacks?
Yes, because it specifically
Really?
states it changes a physical attack to a mystic attack. It's not you get to use your mystic defense. It is now a mystic attack.
So this is an incredibly important innate
Okay.
here because not only that, if it's changing, say, a Hulk smash to Mystic, that means she
Yep.
cannot be. Well, I guess that would be a throw, not a push. But so she can't be moved from those physical attacks because they're being turned into Mystic attacks as well, and she's getting blanks on them.
Correct.
That's awesome.
It's so good. As somebody who plays a whole lot of convocation, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm so into this.
And then, like we said before, she's immune to bleed, incinerate, poison, and stun, which is why she should be an 8. But she doesn't. She also doesn't change much on her injured side for the diamond form before we swap back over to her healthy side.
Oh,
Looks like
one other
stamina and
thing.
everything stays the same.
Healthy diamond art. I think it's Carlos. I'm
Yes.
loving it. Girl, I'm loving the sass. I love it. It's so good. It's probably my favorite art so far.
I
I prefer the art.
I don't disagree at all. And what's actually cool is in the transmission for these cards, there's actually a much bigger version of that particular pose by Carlos. That just it looks really cool. I would not be shocked to see that on people's cell phone backgrounds or whatnot. But
I might have to do that.
moving back over to her healthy side, let me get this bad boy up again. Normal healthy. There we are. So that was just diamond form, all that stuff we went over.
Quick aside.
She also has Shield Mine, which for 2 power. This is a reactive. When this character or an allied character within range 4 of it would be advanced, placed, or pushed by the effects of an enemy mystic attack or enemy superpower, you may use this superpower. The allied character is not advanced, placed, or pushed. So we've seen this on both Cassandra Nova and Jean so far, right?
An amazing power. It's like one of those things where it's like when you have it, when you need it, it'll win you the game.
Yeah. Yep.
Hands down. So good.
Now, is there another one out there too? Is there does Ebony Maw or some? I feel like there was another one of those like stop pushes things out there, but I can't place who it was. Oh, maybe it's Darkstar. I think has something.
I've never actually seen Darkstar in person. I've never seen anybody play her.
That's super fair. I played her for the first time the other week against Mitch. Maybe not. No, she has a defensive steroid. Okay, but so that's Shield Mine, and like we said, so that was. If you want to talk about that a little bit, Dr. D, I know that's kind of what you said that Jean was very good at. She can do it too, and she's a little bit cheaper and has a lot of other kind of stuff going on. How impactful is Shield Mind in a lot of games, especially if you're going up against some Wakanda or, I mean, yeah, I guess Wakanda, I guess it's insanely good, right? Between Black Panther and Shuri.
Let's just say if you expect a Thanos with a space gem or a mind gem, they're going to be real sad. They're going to be real sad. Tiema. Just because most of the time, the advantage of bringing an 8th call, other than Thanos is great, even without the gems, but you take away one of the most incremental part of their strategies where they take the key piece and pull it towards them and then just murder them.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's going to make the game way more even keel for you. because it specifically says also attacks, I think. But yeah, it's also mystic attacks. So that also removes a lot of the movements you'll get out of like Convocation.
Hmm.
Uh, Plus, these like moving mystic attacks are obviously coming. It's going to actually help you against other Emmas, funnily enough. Um,
Well, I guess it doesn't protect against Shuri or BP, huh? Because those aren't mystic attacks, unless you're
it has to be a
Ironbound.
super.
Yeah, unless you're Ironbound booking,
Yeah,
and
that you're
then
booking, right?
all right, and that that seems relatively inexpensive as well. Are the other shield mines 3 power or are they all 2?
I think so. Yeah, it's even cheaper for them. I think because of the fact that I think everybody else that had. I don't know about Nova, but they all have more power generation, which is going to come up again when we kind of talk about maybe the drawbacks of Emma.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's. I mean 2 is probably where it should be because when Emma comes out, the meta is going to shift. There's no argument that that's going to be the case.
Yep, 100%.
Because right now, I think Guardian Thanos is definitely a part of the meta, and if I don't think Emma existed, it probably was going to stay because of how solid it was.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
we
I
will see.
completely agree. Well, and as far as because I think there's a lot of comparison to make kind of between those characters. So Jean does have one more health on her injured side, one more physical defense, and one more energy defense, but then also has flight and the extra power and some things like that. But yeah, so far I mean I think Emma's gonna hit in a pretty big way. She's gonna leave a real diamond-sized crater.
You can say that. Yes, that's what they. That is what they say.
And then she also has power inhibition, no breathing, where during the character's activation, enemy characters cannot use reactive superpowers or reactive team tactics cards. So, also super rad. Uh, I mean, we've seen all sorts of great plays from Mystique having that with Do You Know Who I Am? Juggernaut off cycle throwing people that they can't brace against. Um, just a really, really cool ability that's going to really bake in a lot of power into Emma.
You also skipped tele.
Oh yeah, and then telekinetic deflection. If this character would suffer a collision, it may use a superpower. It costs 2 power. This character does not suffer damage from that collision. Once again, adore that. You can't throw her either, or you can. She's gonna probably get rid of it if she has a little bit of
Now
power
again,
left.
you pay for it on this side, and then on the other side, it essentially becomes free.
Oh yeah, somewhat. I mean, she can still be thrown.
You can still be thrown on this side too, but she just doesn't.
Gotcha.
Uh, then the other side, this character cannot be pushed. She'd still take the damage on the other side, but you just can't be pushed or advanced. Which I guess this one. Well, I guess yeah. I guess it's weird. Like when you're not made of diamonds, you don't care about being thrown, but you do care about being thrown when you're made out of diamonds. That's an
Wait, is
interesting.
this? She just is. She's harder. She can still be thrown. She has no defenses against being thrown on the other side, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When
Oh,
she's
gotcha.
diamond, thrown, but when she's not diamond, you can just say if you do get thrown, you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You become a kingpin for 2 power.
Right. Now let's talk about her power generation because there's a lot she's going to be wanting to do. She wants
Yeah,
power to be able to turn into her diamond form. She's going to want to be, negating some of those pushes and advances that the enemy can do, especially against Guardian Thanos or other characters that kind of heavily disrupt the battlefield. Um, and she does have a range for builder, which is solid. It's not going to be super consistent, right? But it still should be somewhat consistent. No gainer, so no like guaranteed power generation like a shield throw or something like that. But still, I think with that range for builder, that round one, you're probably getting a single attack off round one, like very
yeah, for
legitimately.
sure. I
Um,
mean, you do a move. You just, especially with all the objectives now being more in the middle, kind of like
yeah,
your skulls and all that. Someone's going to wander in there, and you're going to blast them. So that, and again, in those situations, if you get the bend will off, that's when you pull pull that model out of place. Which that again, like I was saying before, that alone makes the fourth row worth it
hmm
because now for the enemy's like key piece or whatever. But yeah, could you imagine like turn one hitting a Hulk with this, pulling it towards you, and having your entire team lay into him on the first turn?
Well, and what we've seen, especially at conventions when we're streaming some footage and stuff, that Hulk and She Hulk are big buckets of hit points that you can, in fact, just churn through.
You sure can.
Hulk Not Puny Banner helps, but it doesn't solve the problem that, hey, a character with that much stamina is really just saying, "Oh, I'm not going to waste any rolls here. Every damage that I do, this is no longer going to be like, oh, I only need to do 2 to finish him off, and I'll roll 8 successes and he'll roll no blocks. All that damage is wasted." Not with Hulk. He's going to soak it all up like a sponge.
He's just like 2 or 3 spikes away from falling down. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Now, so I think it's pretty clear as well. There's no leadership ability on here, so we can guarantee effectively that Hellfire affiliation is going to be card based.
They said that on the box.
Okay.
They said very Hellfire was going to be a card. Now, this was somewhat discussed in the Discord, and I thought it was very clever, so I'm going to give full credit to Half Days Ninja on this one. 100%, this means that the Hellfire Club is going to be run by, I believe, separate members. So you got Emma. You're probably going to get a Black Queen Emma at some point. Maybe it's like a separate box or however they decide they want to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe a Phoenix. I know Phoenix wasn't really in charge, but she was a powerhouse. You're probably going to get a Shaw at some point. He'll be the Black King. And then probably get like some alternating leaders and all that. So the real question I asked in the painting stream, and I didn't really get an answer. But I had asked, is it going to be the Convocation card, or is it going to be like the Black Order one? Where, because Corvus takes spot. Oh, and Mastermind. Yeah, I can't forget about Mastermind. Yeah, and I'm sorry, Dark Phoenix, not necessarily Phoenix. Again, thank you for the clarification on that one. But if it's the Convocation card, Hellfire, I think, is going to be disgustingly good. If it takes up one of your 5 cards on when you pick your actual team, probably a little more unwieldy to use, but that might also mean that the leadership is very, very good.
Right.
But again, we won't know until probably in at least a couple weeks.
Any speculation on what that affiliation ability might be? Are we going to see something that's a little bit more, not convoluted, but just a little bit more meaty, like Do You Want to Remember? Or are we going to see something that's more of a passive?
I don't know. I'm hoping for Emma's sake that it's some kind of power generation card.
I think that tracks too, right? For the Hellfire Club, as far as like, listen, you got to pay your dues, pay your tithes. Like, we're all about money. I could absolutely see whoever your leader is either generating additional power during the power phase or having some type of, there's certainly, I guess I would put money down on some type of power generation.
Even if it was similar to like an Inhuman, like power switch, type thing. They're paying dues, or maybe like it's an Inhuman one, but it can only go to like the leader, something like that.
Or maybe something with objective control, right? Where if you're holding an objective, or a token, that character gets additional power during the power phase, kind of the opposite of, or the opposite of the same coin as the Red Skull Master of Hydra, where if you're holding an asset token, you generate some more power.
Perfect.
And then, I mean, it could be something on places or pushes as well, where those characters are similar to the Winter Guard one, naturally resistant to being commanded around, or something to that effect.
And drunk.
Yes. Dionysus Delight is what it would be called, and 100%. But
let me just say this: so, like, if Emma's good and the leadership is even relatively solid, I will be going for best Hellfire as much as I humanly can. I will be playing the heck out of Hellfire Club.
Yeah, I would really like to see some Hellfire grunts too. I think that would be really awesome, especially with Shaw.
That might be Mastermind's thing. Actually, another thing mentioned Mastermind.
No, I'm not super familiar with Mastermind. What's his whole deal? He's a master of minds.
I think he's a mind controller. I think in the comics it's always been like if they manage to get to him, they just punch him in the face and he falls down. But I'm a little not super knowledgeable of X-Men comics. I know he's more of an X-Men villain.
Yeah. And speaking of, and I don't think he would fit in the Hellfire Club, but I would love to see Shadow King at some point. Just
that'd be
right.
That'd be awesome. That and Sauron too. Who could forget about Sauron?
So they just added Sauron, or they're adding him in Marvel Snap. I keep seeing the video from the guy that used to work on Hearthstone. that now does Marvel Snap, being like, "Oh, I'm so excited for these 3 cards, Shadow King," and I was like, "Yeah, I like Shadow King. Hell yeah, Brody, let's go." But yeah, what else?
Shadow King. If it depends on if he's like stays in the Death Realm or whatever. Shadow King could potentially be a pretty high threat model.
Yeah, someone that I could absolutely see having kind of an organized play kit built around him as well.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, when you talk about like, oh yeah, well, they're really hard to get to, but then once you fight him, you just get him there and slap him real hard, and then he's all done. I think of Shadow King for that as well. I love that almost Kingpin with a fez uh, vibe that he has as well.
I love the Fez. The Fez is the best part. So
As far as other tactics cards that we might see for her now that we have this card out, or these cards, I guess, out, what else do we think might be something that would really flesh out her kit? Will we see like a maybe an alternate version of like mental domination? Because that certainly seems like that could very well fit here. Or, and this might be a little bit more out there, but something similar to Arnim Zola's card there, where he can give someone a mystic attack and extra defense dice, some type of psychic shielding.
Experiment is what it's called.
I think so as well.
I don't know.
Scientific method.
That's what method. So what I would hope for is Emma's known for being a teacher. That's like her thing. That maybe she can like mentor another model.
Yeah.
Maybe give some kind of bonus or whatever if they're within like a certain range or something like that.
Actually, I like that.
Because that's the one thing she's really known for is that she's like Emma's not like a bad person. She's just willing to do. She doesn't really care about authority.
Yeah.
Like kind of her, why I love her so much.
Same. Where I really like those ends justify the means characters that sometimes they're good or they're well intentioned, but sometimes have to ride a little bit of a line to get things done. That's a character type that I'm normally very into.
Yes, and I think Emma is a great example of it. I mean, obviously, it's like with comic books, she's known for other things, but that's always been the thing I've always loved about her is that it's like a less violent Punisher, I guess, where it's like Punisher has one solution for like all of them.
Right.
Emma could probably be a little more clever.
They forgot my fries again. They're gonna get punished. But
there's no second chances.
All right, so here's what I want. This is a tactics card I really, really, really want to see. I do really want to see a mental domination one. I want to see a reverse Jean. I want to see a love triangle card that has characters named out that you get some cool effects with. That's what I want. I want her to be able to off activation attack or shield or do something with Cyclops. I want Jean to be involved. I want there to be negatives if Jean's around and no like a huge bud if it's just Cyclops. Like I want that so bad. So bad.
That would be so good. It'd probably be a terrible card, but damn if it wouldn't.
Oh yeah. But I mean, listen, if the narrative's there, you know I'm into it. I'm gonna fearful symmetry whatever I can, whenever I can.
That's such a beautiful card idea.
I want it to be the same card too. It's just Jean, but it's a question mark instead of an exclamation mark. Maybe it's just called her, and yeah.
Goodness. Oh, X-Men comics. What have you done?
It's like to me my X-Men, but it's just Cyclops on a motorcycle, like sneaking out at 1 a.m. to go see Emma and gets a long movement towards Emma wherever she is. But
the Avengers assemble only for Emma and Cyclops. Too good. Too good.
So and we're pretty certain, obviously she's going to be somewhat involved in the Hellfire affiliation, probably X-Men as well. Do we see her taking a role in Brotherhood or any of the other mutant affiliations? Do we see her in A-Force? Where else do you see her kind of having a home?
As far as again, not reading a ton of X-Men comics, I can definitely assume that she's going to be in X-Men. I think the one that is probably arguable is good because, like, in the Hydra and Cabal situation, I thought for the longest time Hydra was Cabal, like they were kind of like one thing of it.
Yeah,
and a lot of like crossover. But is Hellfire going to be the like mini Brotherhood? Is kind of the question I have. So is it going to be just like an alternate take of Brotherhood, but you don't get like Mag? I don't know if Magneto's in the Hellfire Club, but I actually looked up the member list of the Hellfire Club, and it's essentially like so like at the beginning it was like the Dark Phoenix storyline, and I guess maybe they were all mutants then. I have no idea, but
Yeah.
now it's like Tony Stark is in it and Mr. Fantastic's in it, and it's all the like essentially it's like kind of like a pseudo Illuminati in a way.
Okay.
I'm curious and the point of this whole is where are they gonna say this is taking place, right? Because every character is supposed to be a snapshot in the comics. Where in the comic storyline is this Hellfire Club taking place? If it is, you might get Hulkbuster. You might get Hulkbuster in Hellfire Club, which is kind of cool. But
I should
not the
predict that actually.
That would be kind of neat. So I think she's gonna be. She's definitely an X-Men. No doubt in my mind about that. Because I think Xavier's school, right, or whatever is going on. So she's definitely gonna be an X-Men. She might be A-Force. I don't know. I don't know if she's really does anything with them. I don't know if the anti-hero thing kind of like makes it so she doesn't really join them. Okay, Magneto is in Hellfire. Yeah, I figured. I think Xavier is too, but again, that's a whole other.
Well, and I feel like wasn't she in the Illuminati at one point as well? There was kind of a run, or maybe in the Cabal, where there was I can't. Maybe it was Avengers versus X-Men, or maybe it was before it, or maybe it was when all the timelines collided or whatever. But I feel like I remember like her and Namor hanging out with a bunch of other bad dudes, or maybe I'm thinking of Lady Loki. But
what was it?
yeah,
What was what was the evil Illuminati? Wasn't that the Cabal?
it was Cabal. Yeah, the Cabal.
I think she was. She's definitely going to be Cabal. There's no doubt in my mind that she's going to be. Because I think she was. I think she was a part of that council. She was a part of some big council. I don't think it was Illuminati. I think it was the.
I that's how I'm remembering it too. But once again, I know I've gotten legs or lines.
There's so many of these. There's so many of the like little like groups of the super groups. It's hard to keep track of. But I don't know about A-Force. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure she's not an Avenger by any means.
No.
Probably not Inhumans. Probably not Midnight Suns. Probably not Hydra. Probably not Shield.
Yeah, I think it's going to be mutants and maybe Cabal. I don't think that's a bad pick.
I think, and again, Brotherhood I could see go either way. And then of course she'll be. You would hope that since she's a leader of it, she might be in Hellfire Club.
Right. Yeah. One would guess. Maybe they voted her out for this particular snapshot. But the one thing I really like about this particular character, and we saw it with Rhino as well, is how much some of these character releases affect unaffiliated groups, right? So we've seen Rhino really pop off in a bunch of different rosters. And Guardians, even, like being a regular mainstay for some of the lists that we've been seeing around. I know that you've mentioned pretty heavily that Emma is going to be just gangbusters in Convocation, and I think that's actually super valid. I think we're going to see some Convocation stock go up on her release, and that might be doubled down even with Psylocke. Who knows what she's going to have? I know that it's probably going to be, I'm guessing, a 3, but
I'm in that train of thought, but it's a weird string of releasing 4s.
Well, and Banger Force too. I mean,
that's to their credit. Every single 4 that has come out has been good to great.
Yep.
None of them. I don't think anyone can argue that they're bad.
Correct. Well,
they've been hitting stride.
Well, and we've seen too, right? Once the tactics cards come out as well, like it drastically changes the impact of a character. I still just absolutely adore. This is a very side tangent, but Gabe at LVO during, I think, gymnastics put the power gem on Rhino and was able to, this is a robbery, onto Dormammu. And just, he showed us the meme too of Rhino like in the dark dimension being like, "Hey Dormammu, this is a robbery." And he made that meme a dream, and he made it real, and it worked out, and then he threw it into a pyro to daze him. But poor Pyro.
Gabe is the hero we need.
He really is. He really is. But outside of fitting incredibly well inside of Convocation, are there any other banger spots where there's an affiliation that's really going to shine a little bit like a diamond with Emma in their midst?
You son of a gun. That was too good. Anything with power generation, A Force, I think she's going to do marvelous. Alyssa is on to something. I actually think she'd be really, really good in humans.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's solid. Nobody else can do it except her though, because it was her idea. I think she'd go great in Cabal. I think she'd be great in Hydra for the world domination one.
Oh yeah.
The good thing about her being so ubiquitously good because she's not going to define your. So here's the one thing about I'm going on a side tangent. Sorry. The one thing about Emma is that I think she can fill multiple roles, and the more you can give her power, the
Mm-hmm.
more she can fill. She can either be the bruiser, she can either be the shooter in the back, she can be so many of these different things. But if you don't have a power generation method, I think she's going to be limited to doing one, maybe two.
Yeah.
If you give her power generation, she can do all of them.
Right.
Great in Brotherhood with Magneto, yada yada. We know all the great things that help with power generation. That's good with everybody else. We know who they are. I think she's going to fit in real well. And this is exactly why I'm so excited about her. Other than loving the character, is that while she helps those teams, she's also helping all the other teams just by existing, which was my
Yes.
big qualm with Rhino, where it's like, okay, cool, he's helping teams that already don't need help, but she helps almost everybody because she's a perfect splash.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean that fits to the character as well, right? We've seen Emma kind of helping or hindering all sorts of different groups, both good and bad, as long as it's helping the kids or for, what she deems to be the right reasons. Um, and yeah, if there's anyone that can really consistently make sure their entire team is murdered, it's also uh, Emma Frost. Those poor hellions, you know. Dan's favorite cat eye, I remember too, being just insanely off-putting. We did a read through of some of the New Mutants. Was it New Mutants? Yes. Leading up to that movie coming out, and we got to read all about Shadowcat and Emma's kind of back and forth, and her own little team there that was the Hellions. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Poor
Mm-hmm.
Hellions. Because it was a separate school, I think. It was like a separate mutant school.
It was, and it was also in like the rich part of Massachusetts instead of
Yep.
Westchester. But
Because I think Xavier's school is in Massachusetts. I think it's out in the Berkshires, I think.
was it? I thought it was in upstate New York. I thought it was like, I thought it was
I know it's
Westchester specifically.
maybe. I'm not super knowledgeable. But I know Spider-Man constantly gets yanked over there when he in Ultimate Spider-Man. He's just trying to do his thing, and then like the Blackbird just picks him up. And he's like, "Oh no, I got to get home before Aunt May gets mad." It's so good.
There was a Netflix like Lego Marvel thing that was like Shield and Spider-Man and stuff, and they just constantly had this bit where everyone in Shield would like save the day, Spider-Man would be there to help, and then they'd just all leave him, and he'd have to like walk back to Brooklyn.
That's so good. That's so fit. The thing is, it happens multiple times in the comics. Like, I've been reading Ultimate. I'm going to go on a quick side. I've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man, and he fights Doc Ock in Brazil. He's got to like away in a jetliner to get back. It's so good. Oh, it's amazing. Anyway,
but yeah, I think I'm really excited for 2023 for MCP. I think they've really hit a stride. Number one with the Crisis rework. We might see character updates later in the year too. That would actually be super dope.
I'd be very excited about that.
And I think the game's in a really, really, really good spot right now, and I'm really excited to see how this continues to develop because every single one of these character releases has, the ability to really kind of affect the meta. And unlike other minis games too, the meta's still very wide. You know what I mean? When you think about the really competitive stuff, it's Guardians or it's Brotherhood or it's X-Men or it's this with these other four things and this splash.
Shield.
Shield, right?
Sure.
I mean, so yeah, I think this game has a lot that's undiscovered, even with the existing models. So I'm super excited to see what the year has in store for it. But couple things, housekeeping items, real quick. Next month, we just got word late last night at like 11 o'clock. We are holding an event at Bearded Dragon Games on February 18th. Check out the Facebook. Link is down below for that event. There's also a Longshanks for it. Guess what? It's now an LVO qualifier as well. So, February 18th at Bearded Dragon Games and Hobbies, we'll be holding a Marvel Crisis Protocol tournament. That is also an LVO qualifier. A bunch of people from around the network will be there. So I really hope that you guys are able to make it out. Just make sure you sign up ahead of time and put all your junk in Longshanks. Link and everything is over on the Facebook. And in addition to all that, just a huge shout out for all of you that came and hung out with us at LVO, and those of you that supported the network by just leaving us up on your phone. Every one of those views actually does monumental things for us. We really appreciate that, especially follows and subs, and our folks over on the Patreon at patreon.com/professionalcasualnetwork. But I think it's just professional casual. I don't think there's no network on the Patreon. But just a real quick shout out to those specific people, especially our King Ding Doppeldongers and our professional cake sitters, including Bastion, Rob, Leroy, Bicon, Cider Drinker, Dr. D, Devil Pup, Otis, Dagna, Tony Hot Hands, Iron Maze, Cider Drinker.
Cider Drinker, yeah. You're missing one.
I am missing one. I normally forget Dagna, but I remembered Dagna this time.
You said Devil Pup.
I said Devil Pup, Dagna, Leroy, Bicon, Cider Drinker, Tony Hot Hands. Who am I forgetting? There's one specific one that I'm forgetting, and
You're the one with the list, man.
I feel like I'm like looking right at him too, and I just can't. Oh, it's Dr. D.
No, you said me.
Oh, I did? Oh, never mind. I
Didn't say anything.
I thought that was the one I forgot.
Am I the second cider drinker? Am I the other one that gets 2 mentions every single one?
And Cider Drinker. No, I remembered Otis. Absolutely remembered Otis. By the way, Otis is in the top 4 Sentinel players in the world on Longshanks.
Congratulations, Otis.
So congratulations, Otis. Otis too is just always super cool to see at conventions. He's just such an overwhelmingly nice, pleasant person. Like I don't know.
He was at LVO and I didn't get to see him.
Yeah, I think I think we only saw him on Friday, and I know that's the day like you got in, if I recall. But
yep, I came in late on Friday. It's always next year.
But guys, thank you so much. We honestly couldn't do what we do without you, so we really, really, really appreciate that. Make sure to check all the socials down below. Every one of those things is something that is pertinent to what we do. And I really appreciate all of you that have been checking out the World of Warcraft stream that I've been doing Tuesday through Friday, 3 to 6, or sometimes significantly later than 6 if the mood is striking. But the guild is starting to get up a little gumption and go. So today we were able to do a bunch of battlegrounds together. So yeah, stay tuned to that if you were interested in that. Bleeding Hollow is the server that we're playing on. We're playing Horde side, and the guild is the Professional Casuals. But yeah, come play some WoW with us. It's been a whole bunch of fun, and yeah, it's a lot more in store. We're going to be at Adepticon. We're probably going to Ironweald as well. We have that event next month. Hope to see a lot of you there. That'll be an absolute blast. And yeah, guys, thank you so much. Dylan, thank you for hopping on. I know that you were very, very excited to talk about Emma, and I'm glad that she's living up to the hype that you had built up internally for her.
Yeah, it's been amazing to finally be like a breath of fresh air. It's like there's nothing negative I can possibly say about it.
Right? Next week as well, we will be a new episode of the cleanup phase. So that is our after dark, after hours, where we can talk behind the scenes. Probably a lot about LVO and the event that is coming up later this month. So make sure every level of the Patreon gets access to the cleanup phase. So that'll be next week. I think that's episode 5 or 6 of the cleanup phase. It should be a super sweet time. All right, guys, have a good night. Thank you much. Bye.